of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please remain standing for a moment of silence. Thank you. Call a roll, please.
Keith Bratcher. Here. Joe Crowell. Here. Jerry Sartain.
Here.
Joe Machado.
Here.
Michael Rather. Jared Barrett.
Here.
Dane Cantrell.
Present.
We have a quorum, sir, and all voting members are present.
Thank you. We have the minutes in our packet. Are there any changes or additions to the minutes? Have a motion that be approved?
I'll second it.
Have a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, like sign. They are approved. We have 3 items that will not be on our agenda tonight. So if there are items that you were here for, you might want to, you're welcome to stay, but if you need to leave, you please feel free to do that at this time. The first item that was withdrawn is by Stephen Matthew Thompson. This was on 4081 East Compton Road. That is withdrawn. The next item is not withdrawn, but it's moved till next month. It will not be heard tonight. And this is the Zoya Xavier request on 4306 White Oak Drive. That is rescheduled for next month. And the last item, which has been withdrawn, is the new Singular Wireless on Twin Oak Drive. That is withdrawn. So if you're here for any of those 3, you may want to ease out at this time. We will not have a hearing on any of them tonight and will not be taken up tonight. Cannot speak at this time, ma'am. Sorry. The only time that you're allowed to speak is when you've been recognized, and it is a public hearing session for you. And we have a 3-minute limit on that. We have to keep some kind of order, so it's not to keep you from coming before the BZA, but in a timely manner that we can get all of our business done. Many nights we have a long business and being able to do that. So try to stay within the 3-minute limit that we have. The first item we have, we're going to take 3 of them. We have the fireworks. There are 3 of them, and we'll take those. We'll have our staff to give us information on that. Following that, we will have a public hearing on each one of those for anyone who'd like to speak on them. So we have TNT Fireworks, Jake Lloyd Fireworks, and a Jake Lloyd Fireworks. And what do you have on those, please?
Thank you. Application 2014-42 involves the property located at 6137 Epps Mill Road. This is filed by TNT Fireworks, and they are seeking requests for temporary special exception approval to sell fireworks from the property, which is located in our Employment Activity Center zoning district. And TNT has been located at the site for many years, and they are just seeking the same request that has been approved in the past. And they would like to sell fireworks from, I believe it's June 21st through July 5th, and they will be located in the same location on the property. We have not received any calls in regards to this application, and we posted a sign on the property. And these are just photos of the surrounding area. It will be located close to the corner of Epps Mill and Forbes Road intersections within the parking lot, and that is the tent location. And that is the same location that they've been upon the site for the last 4 or 5 years. and we've never received any complaints regarding that application.
Any questions from the board on this one? Okay, move on.
Application 2014-43 involves the property located at 5630 Lebanon Pike. This application is filed by Jake Lloyd. He is seeking temporary special exception approval, allowing the sale of fireworks from this property zoned commercial services. Mr. Lloyd has been located at the site prior years with no complaints from regarding the operation of the fireworks stand from this site. He is going to be located in the same location, which is just up the driveway where the parking area begins here at this site, which is an existing plumbing business. And as you can see, we posted a sign on the property. We've not received any phone calls regarding this particular request. And photos of the surrounding area, and then just the location plan. And that concludes our presentation of that.
Any questions from the board? You may continue.
Application 2014-44 involves the property at 3960 Shelbyville Pike, filed by Jake Lloyd. This is seeking temporary special exception approval for the sale of fireworks from a commercial services zone property. And Mr. Lloyd has been located at this site many years, selling fireworks from the corner of Oak Meadows Drive and Shelbyville Pike. We have received informational calls on this. They were concerned that it might have been the adjacent business seeking a rezoning, but it wasn't. And once they found out that it was the fireworks stand, they had no issues with the request. We have posted a sign on the property, and we've not received any complaints regarding the operation of the stand in past years from this location. And photos of the surrounding area, the neighborhood located behind the site, and the plot plan, and that concludes our presentation.
Any questions from board members? Okay, now we'll go back to a public hearing on the first fireworks stand, which is at 6137 Epps Mill Road. We'll open this for a public hearing for anyone who'd like to speak. If you want to speak on this, please come to the podium. We'll close the public hearing. We'll have a motion on it.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve.
Have a motion that be approved. Do we have a second? To have a second. Call a roll, please.
Keith Bratcher,
Yes.
Joe Crowell,
Yes.
Joe Machoto,
Yes.
Jerry Sartain,
Yes.
Thane Cantrell.
Yes.
Motion carries.
The next item we have is for a public hearing is the Jake Lloyd request on 5630 Lebanon Pike. We'll open this for a public hearing for anyone who'd like to speak on this. Close the public hearing. We have a motion on it.
Move to approve, Mr. Chairman.
Have a motion be approved.
I'll second it.
Have a second. Call a roll, please.
Keith Bratcher,
Yes.
Joe Crowell,
Yes.
Joe Machoto,
Yes.
Jerry Sartain,
Yes.
Thane Cantrell.
Yes.
Motion carries, sir.
The next item we have is the Jake Lloyd BZA fireworks, 3960 Shelbyville Pike. We'll open this for a public hearing. Do we have anyone who'd like to speak on this request? Close the public hearing. We have a motion on it.
I move we approve.
Have a motion to be approved.
Second.
Have a second. Call a roll, please.
Keith Bratcher,
Yes.
Joe Crowell,
Yes.
Joe Machoto,
Yes.
Jerry Sartain,
Yes.
Thane Cantrell.
Yes.
Carries, sir.
Okay, thank you. Now we have the request by Redemption Baptist Church, and this, we have two portions to that. One is a gravel parking area, and the other one is a fire hydrant within 1,000 feet. What do you have on that, please?
Thank you. Application 2014-45, filed by Redemption Baptist Church, involves the property located at 4110 Midland Road. The property is zoned residential medium, And the church is requesting variance relief to allow gravel parking area and relief from the development standard requiring a fire hydrant within 1,000 feet. And Redemption Baptist Church is proposing to build a new 4,200 square foot building, which they have gone through site plan review before the Planning Commission. And on April 28th, the Planning Commission approved the site plan as presented with the condition that they receive variances for the use of gravel for parking areas, as well as the fire hydrant distance requirement. Now, the fire hydrant distance requirement, there is a fire hydrant within 1,000 feet of the property. However, it is not a functional fire hydrant. So they would like to seek relief from that requirement. The gravel parking area, they would like to receive relief from that. However, if they are denied the relief for the gravel parking area, they will be required to redesign the site, go through site plan approval, and it would put them in the threshold of having to meet our stormwater management regulations. And so the church would like to use the existing gravel area that you see in this photo here and the existing gravel drive. The new congregation will be located to the west of the existing structures. You have a commercial facility adjacent to this property that actually received a variance when it was under construction, a temporary variance for paving. However, before the variance expired, they were able to pave the site because the weather conditions allowed for that paving. So, now they do meet the criteria for the fire hydrant relief, since the conditions are unique to that property and the water lines cannot support the installation of a fire hydrant. However, staff finds that the conditions for variance criteria have not been met. We have received several informational calls regarding this request, but no one has indicated whether or not they're in favor of or opposition. And this is the site plan that was approved by the Planning Commission with the conditions as stated in the staff report and mentioned earlier. And that concludes our presentation.
Do we have anyone here from the Baptist Church to represent this? If you'll come around, please. If you'll give us your name and any additional information you'd like to share with the board on this.
Yes, sir. My name is Joel Young. I'm the pastor of Redemption Baptist Church. We're a young church. We started in March of 2011 and purchased the property that we're at now in April of 2012. But we have a good problem. We've outgrown our space. So what we're looking to do is build an auditorium for just worship only. There'll be no Sunday school rooms. Our goal is to have it under 300 occupancy. Our original goal on that was to avoid sprinkler systems and some of the extra cost with that. And so our idea on the variance as far as the parking, if we keep the same growth projection, we'll be looking at building another building in the next 3 to 5 years. And it would sit where the gravel parking is now. And if we have to pave that plus put in a retention pond, we're kind of limited right now with the drainage easement. If you'll notice on the property, there's a big drainage easement there that kind of cuts part of our property off for us. And so that's why we're looking at that. Even if we had a temporary variance and allowed us the next, 3 years to see how our growth, if it's going to continue the way it is, so that's what we're asking for.
Any questions from the board?
I got some might be for our staff. I just want to say to you, sir, in no way I'm not against your church. I just have a few questions about whether they're seeking the variance for the fire hydrant. And I know we kind of talked a little bit in the pre-meeting. There was one around over on Josephine Drive, but it was not operational.
The low
Is that
flow.
correct?
It's a red top.
Okay, it's red top hydrant. And I know we've been down this road before. About fire hydrants and this fire load being, with the church here, not having any fire protection, and then, going to the expense of a sprinkler system. But I guess hey Doug, when we just, I know we just redid our codes, and it seems like it's becoming more and more, and I guess people are out in the county. This county's growing, so we're getting more commercial stuff, and we keep getting more variances for fire hydrants because, CUD can't provide the fire protection. And I just consistently say I think this is something that this is a road we're going down. I don't think we need to. I think it's going to cause some problems down the road. I mean, our fire departments they do a very good job, but I guess the water supply has always been a issue for them. So I guess one question I got is, in our codes now we say if they want to put this there that they have to be within 1,000 feet of a fire hydrant. I just wonder, when we looked at our codes, why do we leave that in there when that usually that can't be met?
Right. Well, and I don't know if I can really give you an answer to the question as far as why we left it in there. I think we left it in there because that was the way historically it had always been done. The county unincorporated area had never adopted any fire code. Just recently, the county has adopted, the 2012 fire code and international building code. With that adoption, we're going to see, and the board will see, some changes to the regulations. Now, they won't come before you just because that's a zoning ordinance function. They'll go before the Planning Commission and ultimately the Board of Commissioners. But ultimately, when we work out how this process is going to work, from an administrative standpoint, how we're going to take care of that, the probability of you seeing any more fire hydrant variances is probably pretty much nil. It's really going to become more of an issue of, the fire chief will be able to make the calls, and really that's where it belongs. It really belongs with him. Now that we've got an adopted fire code, I think the reason we've got the codes that we have currently in our zoning and in our subdivision regulation in regard to fire hydrants and that kind of thing is simply because we've never had fire codes before. But now that we're in the process of working to implement those codes that have been adopted, you're going to probably stop seeing these types of requests, and so will the Planning Commission when it comes to waivers for subdivisions and things like that. So, I don't know if that answers your question entirely, really, but why it was left in there when we redid our codes, it was just because that was the way we'd always done it. There had been some discussion while we were going through that process of possibly changing that, but that's when they started talking about the code adoption and those kind of things, and so we wanted to kind of wait until we saw what kind of changes were going to have to be made at that time, so we just kind of left things the way they were.
So down the road, it's probably going to correct this situation, but I certainly understand the questions you're bringing up. They're good ones. And I don't know that it's going to help. Some of these we've already approved in the past, and I don't know how all of this is going to eventually affect that. So that's something else that I think you folks probably need to take into consideration when you're doing this. Do we have any other?
Thank you.
Jerry?
I was going to ask the applicant, you mentioned that you're going to build this addition and then you're talking about building again in like 3 more years.
If we keep it the same growth, we have we have a membership of about 85 to 90, average attendance of probably about 105, 110.
My question is, you're growing, so are you planning some alternative method if you don't have sprinklers?
We'll just have to put sprinklers in. That's the only alternative. That's why originally when we started the process, we were told if we kept it under 5,000 square feet or 300 occupancy, that's not an issue. But because of the low flow hydrant in the area, it may be an issue. On the recommendation we got, that I guess after this we'll have to go back to the fire marshal, I guess, and then see about if we have to put a sprinkler system in because of this hydrant issue. Does that make sense?
Joe?
I got something to say. This is a church and nobody sleeps there. And they're only on Sunday and Wednesday. And they're supposed to be all awake. And if you had a fire, they'd all get out before the fire truck got there. So in this situation, I don't see how the fire hydrant would be of a lot of value to that church.
Depends on how active the sermon is, whether they sleep there or not.
If you had a
Forget I said that.
If you had an apartment complex or something like that, that'd be different. But being a church, I don't see that
Joe?
lack of a fire hydrant would be a problem.
Okay.
You did say that if they require you to have sprinklers, you will put them in this addition, correct?
Well, we'll have no option.
Yeah.
So, and it's about a $20,000
do-
expense that.
Do you have any handicap parking out there now?
Yes, sir.
And it's paved or not
No,
paved?
sir. All that is gravelled. We have a paved. Oh, we can't really see it there, but we have a paved area that they're designated in front of that as handicapped.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, one more question, Mr. Chairman, maybe our staff can answer this. And I know what he's saying about later on, even for future growth, and they build a bigger building or whatever and this will be a commercial site, so it'll require a sprinkler system, which is on a commercial basis. Takes a lot of water to supply that. I'm just wondering if CUD, if you know, if they can plan on upgrading water lines there or anywhere in the county. That's just I understand you're saying that this is going to start going up under our, with the fire codes we're adopting, Mr. Honeycutt and all that. And I know he's very knowledgeable. I'm just wondering because I don't think the problems lies with the county. I think we got stuff in place where we want to do it what needs to be done. I think the thing lies with CUD, which I know they're not it's not like the city of Murfreesboro. I know the fire, with what we work with in the Murfreesboro Water and Sewers, that's all the city of Murfreesboro. So it's a little easier to get things done there. I understand that than here, but I just wonder if they have any, if they have any plans on upgrading water lines or whatever, because it's going to continue to be a thing.
Well, we actually, myself, Mr. Hill, Ms. Glauner, we were actually at a training session yesterday with CUD at their building where they talked about, rural water issues and fire protection in rural areas. And actually the issue of the Fosterville area did come up, and that and Eric, Daniel, correct me if I get this wrong, but my understanding was that their board had approved improvements out in that area for a water tank and water line improvements. Now, as far as A, when they're going to be completed, they really didn't get into that, and B, is that going to have any kind of an impact on this directly? It's really difficult for us to say until we know what the extent of those improvements are. So, but they have been talking about improvements in that area. Yes, sir.
All right, so thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you. You may be seated. We'll open this for a public hearing for anyone who'd like to speak on this request. Close the public hearing. Do we have a motion on it?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve both situations.
Okay, the parking lot and the fire hydrant. Do we have a second? Okay, we have a second. Call the roll, please.
Keith Bratcher,
Yes.
Joe Crowell,
Yes.
Joe Machado,
Yes.
Jerry Sartain,
No.
Dane Cantrell.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, the next item we have is a request by Christy Allen, and this is for a beauty salon. What do you have on that, please?
Application 2014-46 involves the property located at 509 John Rice Boulevard. And applicant, Ms. Allen, would like special exception approval allowing the establishment of a major home-based business involving a beauty salon from her home. And the property is zoned medium-density residential, which is RM. The property is bordered by single-family home sites in I-24. It is located close to the city of Murfreesboro boundaries, and the property is 1.27 acres, and she would like to operate her beauty salon from this home under the conditions of the major home-based business provisions. And this is existing home. We have received informational calls as well as one call in opposition to the request. She plans to add an additional driveway that would allow her clients to pull in and out of the site without having to back up. However, there is adequate parking areas that's gravelled here in the back, as well as a long driveway. And these are photos of the surrounding home sites and the neighborhood behind her. And across this is I-24. It's just a buffer that you see, vegetative buffer. And let's see, and the applicant drew out, this is how she plans to accommodate some of the traffic. And she is aware of the limitations for major home-based businesses. And that concludes our presentation.
Do we have anyone here representing this request? If you'll come around, please. If you'll give us your name and any additional information to your request.
My name is Christy Allen, and
I'm her spouse, Dan Allen, and we purchased the property. Can you go back 2 slides or 3 slides? I'm sorry. That's great. It's a traditional house with a traditional 3-bedroom. The previous owner, on the left side, had placed a door closing off a garage. And so that 500 square feet, or not even, is a very, very good facility for this. He also installed a bathroom in there that is handicap accessible because it's all on that straight level. Christy's had a business prior to coming down here, and she currently sees about 5 to 7 clients a week. She's renting a chair at one of the local businesses over by the mall.
Okay, this is one chair. Is that it?
You'll have your sister working for her.
Probably
as well.
like, gotta put like 3 chairs in here.
2 chair.
3
Okay.
chairs.
Any other questions?
Yes, you be living at this home? Okay.
It says Tuesday through Saturday, and then you had the hours from Tuesday to Friday. So is it going to be Tuesday to Saturday, 9 to 6?
Yes.
Okay.
Tuesday.
I'm just making sure because you had 2 different days.
I apologize.
No, it's okay. Thanks.
Any other questions? Joe?
Approximately how many people do you think you'll see a day in and out?
Right now, she's seeing 5 to 7 a week. So we're growing a business. I would expect no more than Saturday will probably be the busiest day due to women's schedules, but I'm not expecting more than 3 or 4.
Maximum per day for the 2 of them? Give me an estimate.
Well, it depends on the day. Regular day, we're not really busy, but most of the weekend, it's gonna be busy. Gonna be only basically it's appointment.
Thank you.
But we welcome walk-in, so we try to build a business. So.
Any other questions? Thank you. You may be seated. We'll open this for a public hearing for anyone who'd like to speak on this request. Close the public hearing. Do we have a motion on it?
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to approve.
Have a motion to be approved. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Call the roll, please.
Keith Bratcher,
Yes.
Joe Crowell,
Yes.
Joe Machado,
Yes.
Jerry Sartain,
Yes.
Zane Cantrell.
Yes.
Motion carries, sir.
The next item we have is a request by Melissa Stinson, and this is for a ADU, and this does meet the design standard. And what do you have on it?
Application 2014-48 involves a property located at 7460 Del Thomas Road, and she is seeking special exception requests for an ADU that does not meet the design standards for accessory dwelling units. We require that accessory dwelling units permitted by right must match the principal structure, whereas there is an existing single-wide mobile home on the property, which has been located at the property since 2001. In 2001, the property was actually a 2-acre parcel. Since that received special exception or conditional use approval from the Board of Zoning Appeals, a gentleman had been displaced by the construction of a local school, and his brother had a 2-acre parcel. They appeared before the Planning or Board of Zoning Appeals, and it was actually approved with the condition that the mobile home would be removed once the gentleman no longer needed to reside there. It was a blind gentleman. But since then, the property has been redivided, the property lines have been redrawn, and the parcel now with the single-wide mobile home is actually a conforming use now. We require 5 acres for a single-wide mobile home, and the acreage of the tract is 7.19 acres. The applicant has purchased the property in the hopes of building their home on the other side of the creek, approximately in this area. I don't know if you can see my mouse. And we have a plan in the paperwork here. But she would like to reside in the mobile home while the home is being constructed. And once the home is constructed, it will be the primary residence and become the principal structure. And the applicant would like to retain the mobile home at its current location on the site and use it for family and guests. They have a long-range plan of possibly building a cabin in its place, but since the single-wide will become the accessory dwelling unit, and it involves a single-wide mobile home, it requires special exception approval from the Board of Zoning Appeals. We have received several phone calls in opposition to the request. We posted a sign at the property, and these are photos of the surrounding area. It's fairly wooded. This is the existing mobile home and a shed that's located upon the property. The driveway off of Del Thomas, the driveway that leads to the rear of the property, and just another shot of Del Thomas with a sign. This is the plan. You can see the creek. She's going to locate the new home on the other side of the creek, and the mobile home would, if approved, remain in the same location. It is a conforming use at this point with a single-wide mobile home, so it's no longer subject to the conditions of that conditional use that was approved in 2001. And this is the aerial, and that concludes our presentation.
Do we have anyone here representing this request? If you come around, please.
My name is Melissa Stinson. I own the property at 7460 Del Thomas. As indicated, I understand there is some opposition to having the mobile home remain as an ADU once our primary residence is built. It's my understanding, though, that opposition arises from the special conditional permit that was granted back in 2001, which would have retired in 2011 because at that point the land was subdivided and it now resides and conforms to codes because it's on 7 acres. I have some additional pieces of information here for you all. I understand that there are some large homes in that area. We initially planned to build a home of 2,100 square feet. With the addition of a walkout basement, our home will be near 3,000, which is along the same lines as the other homes in that area. What we are asking for the ADU is for 2 reasons. One is, as you can see on the map, there is a considerable floodplain area. Having the ADU would allow us to have a secondary residence to go to in anticipation of storms and the creek rising. There have been occurrences already since we've purchased the property where the creek has risen such that we wouldn't be able to cross over it. It has crossed the bridge located on Laddie Lane, so it does actually go up. The other reason is because within our family we have 4 children. We have 2 which are adult age who reside out of state, one of which is married. We have one in high school and one in middle school. The 2 younger children are still at home. With the one that is in high school, as they go off to college, you know, it would be nice to have a place on our property that they could reside in, still maintain some level of independence without keeping me up at night whenever they finally wander home. The other is our family, with the exception of my parents, all reside out of county or out of state, and a lot of our friends reside outside of Rutherford County. This would be a place with 7 acres where people could come, bring their families, stay with us, and we would have a secondary residence. So we have purpose for this mobile home. There are 3 within a half-mile of this, so even though it is non-conforming to our primary structure, it is not unforeseen in that area, as demonstrated by my last handout.
Any question from the board?
Ms. Stinson, so in other words, after you build your home and you have this piece of property, you don't plan to make that any type of rental property? You're going to keep it for your own personal family use or whatever?
Correct. That's our intent.
All righty. Thank you, ma'am.
Jerry?
Did you own the property before it was subdivided?
No, there was a prior owner. Tony and Misty Smotherman owned the property. The Parker family actually owned it at the point that the conditional permit was given for the mobile home on the 2 acres. That property sold in 2011 at auction, and then we purchased it in the middle of May this year.
So the only property you own is the property in question, not the one next to it as well?
Only that outlined in the red area do we own. That's 7.1 acres.
Well, I appreciate what you're saying, but you know your neighbors were promised that was going to be removed, so you have to understand a little bit of how they feel about it. Of course, we're gonna hear all sides of it, but I think you could understand that they might be a little bit upset about it.
Well, I think the conditional permit was given at a time that it was only on 2 acres. Now we are within code, so the fact that they were promised when it was 2 acres is really irrelevant at the point that the land was re-subdivided. In addition to that, it is an emotional, in my opinion, decision that they don't want a mobile home because of their personal properties. But you can't argue the fact that there's 3 others within a half a mile, so that is somewhat of a weak statement on my part.
Any other questions? I have one. You say you're going to build a home.
Yes,
do you
sir.
have a timeline on that? When do you plan on starting?
Well, right now the plans are with the architect. It is a builder's market right now. If you have talked to any builders, they're all very busy. So as soon as we can break ground, that's what we hope to do. So ideally within a year, our home will be finished.
You plan on starting your home within a year?
I plan on hoping to start it by next month, but that will be how quickly I can get my plans to get the
Okay,
builder
and then
started.
you plan on living in this trailer while your home is being built?
Yes, sir, we will.
Okay. Any other questions? Joe?
You have a soil site for your new home?
Yes, sir, and it's already perked for a 4-bedroom.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you. You may be seated. We'll open this for a public hearing for anyone who'd like to speak on this request. If you'll come around at this time.
I'm Marcia Kendrick. I'm 7575 Del Thomas Road.
I need you to repeat your name a little louder,
Marcia
please.
Kendrick, 7575 Del Thomas Road. And we are in opposition to this, not so much as the house being built, but the trailer being there. We are a small community that is 300,000 to $500,000 to $1 million homes. And the trailer was promised to be removed. We signed off on it, all the neighbors signed off on it to help our neighbor who was blind. And it's been an eyesore ever since. And it's been rental property, and it touches our property, and we have worked hard to keep our property value up, and I know that it's affecting that. So we do oppose that. We don't have a problem with another home being built if the trailer's removed. And that seems to be the issue, is not a home being built, but the trailer remaining. We all have one home, and if you start opening this up, then who's to stop somebody else from wanting another trailer on their property and renting it out? And then the whole area, the whole community goes downhill.
Thank you. Any questions, Joe?
Danielle, would you run the location back up on the screen, please, where it shows the picture of the trailer surrounding area? Now, ma'am, where's your home at?
Right across from it and up just a little bit up on that hill.
All the wooded areas.
So you got wooded area all in front of you there.
Oh, okay.
Okay, thank you.
No.
Way back, yeah. Well, you're several hundred feet away from there.
All the trees right there, it's across
So
the
your
road, but-
driveway comes in the curve up there.
Right.
Okay.
And, yeah.
So you're not close to that trailer at all, then. Okay, thank you.
We are right there.
Any other questions?
I got a question for our staff, and it pertains to what she said. The way this property is now, and how Miss Stinson said that it, whenever, I guess the gentleman was living there, deceased, and this property was redone. Before this was on 2 acres of land. Now it's on 7.9. In other words, now it's conforming. In other words, that trailer, they just leave it there forever now. I mean, it's conforming. There's nothing that says it's got to come down. I mean, I don't know if I'm correct or not.
You are.
Okay, because I mean, that seems to be the issue with the neighbors about the trailer being removed. And I guess under those old conditions, I guess after it would have ended. But since that property got sold and this came up from 2 acres to 7.9, now it's conforming because it's over 5 acres. The trailer could stay there till from now on. Okay.
The conditions of the original permit are no longer in effect.
Okay, I just want to make sure they understand that.
Wait just a minute, and we'll give you your chance. Okay. Any other questions for the lady? Okay, thank you. You may be seated. Yes, sir. You're next.
Well, I know that she talked about the creek rising and all that
Before
stuff.
you go, sir, I need you to state your name
Mark
and address.
Kendrick, I'm sorry. Mark Kendrick.
For the record.
Sorry.
It's okay.
Same address.
I'm sorry?
Same address as previous.
Address?
Same address as the previous
Yes,
speaker.
ma'am.
Okay.
7575 Del Thomas Road. And also she talked about the creek flooding and all that. Well, it does flood. You have other neighbors around there that deal with the same thing. And most of the time if it does flood, it's not more than 30 minutes. It's not like it's an all-night thing or anything like that. But it doesn't stay up that long. It does go down. But, you know, I know other neighbors deal with it. But still, I know she's talking about having 2 dwellings on that property, you know, like, and I know you're supposed to have 5 acres per household, I guess, but, you know, that would go over that. But still, the fact that Virgil passing away, and I know this doesn't, I know they sold the property at auction and in order, I guess, to keep that trailer, and I guess they used it for rental property and all that stuff. It's still, you know, we were promised that it was going to be moved, and, you know, and if they're going to build a house, I don't object to that, but having that trailer there with the other house, you know, I just don't.
Unfortunately, that's a lot of times what we see when someone comes up here and has a request and they make these promises and their promise is broken. So we do understand that. So.
But like I say, it'd be nice to have them to build them a house and but I'd like for the trailer to go if we could.
Any questions? Thank you. Appreciate it. Next.
Hi, my name's Kelly Sanders. My address is 7574 Del Thomas Road. It is the house right next to her property. There's Laddie Lane is in between us, but our house would be technically the closest house besides on the other side.
Can you point that out where she lives?
That's my house right there, where your cursor is.
Okay. Thank you.
Of course, it is redundant that, yeah, we were promised that the trailer was going away. We have a $500,000 house. The trailer on the double wide on the other side of us was put in afterwards, but since they owned the property for 10 years, they were grandfathered in So they were allowed to put that trailer in. That's the only reason it's there. And then, of course, Mr. Parker put this trailer in for his blind brother, which we had no problem with, as long as the trailer was going away. Of course, it wasn't. The trailer brings our property value down. We have no problems with them building a house, but it'd be nice not to have an extra house there, like the trailer to go away. The renters that were there beforehand, we had a lot of problems with them because our house is closest to their property. They had a dog that barked 24/7. It was a coon dog, hound dog, whatever, hunting dog, and it barked all the time. We tried talking to the people about quieting the dog down, doing something about the dog, and it didn't help. So we've had nothing but problems with this trailer ever since it's been there, since Mr. Parker sold it. Like I said, we don't have a problem with them building, but it would be nice just to have one dwelling on the property like the rest of the properties have on our areas. I think we have the smallest lot, which is 5 acres. Everyone else has 7 to 9 acres, and we're only allowed to have one house, one dwelling on the property. The extra people running in and out, all the extra cars that however many people they're planning on having visiting them. I don't have a problem with anyone visiting, but how bad is this going to get, and how do we know that she's not going to rent the trailer out again like the previous owner did? She says she's not, but that don't mean that's what's going to happen.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Next. Commissioner.
Chairman, board members, I'm Steve Sandlin, County Commissioner in District 9. Basically just wanted to come up, and I know the neighbors are flustered a little bit about the situation on what was there before, and I was sitting on the commission or the planning commission when that was done. Some things have changed, and plus you've got a good neighbor coming in, so I'm in favor of Ms. Stinson here. If you go by her residence right now on 1 Mile Lane, you'll see it's immaculate. It's not a blade of grass out of place. And believe you me, if this single-wide trailer doesn't meet her satisfactions, it's probably going to hit the road or something. It's going to go away. She may do whatever to it to make it look better or whatever, but I guarantee you they're getting ready to spend a major investment and already have in purchasing the property. So you're going to have over $500,000 plus in on this property and the house, and then in the surrounding, all the woods and everything, keeping it up. So you got a good neighbor coming to the neighborhood. I hope you become good and close neighbors with them, because they're going to make good neighbors. And I hope you vote for this request. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Commissioner. There are a couple of things that the board would point out to the neighbors out there. And we've said this quite often. When you think that something is going into your neighborhood that's going to reduce the value of your property, you need to get a proper assessment and show us that. So far in this county, there's very little property that has been devalued. It's still, you need to show the kind of evidence that we can take and make a good decision on. So far, no one has ever come forward with any of that decision, even though almost all of the objections that we hear to items like this is going to devalue our property. And so show us some evidence to that. It's, that would be helpful to the board when we're taking these things into consideration. Do we have anyone else? We'll close the public hearing. We have a motion on it.
I got a comment on a thing I want to kind of clear up a little bit, was about it's kind of like a broken promise or something. I don't think we broke a promise. I just think the situation changed out there, and this thing came from a non-conforming. That's why they had to get the conditional use permit, and then it became conforming because it became over 5 acres, and so it could stay there. So I don't think I just want to kind of clear up a thing. It wasn't really a broken promise. It's just a situation that changed out there from non-conforming to conforming. But anyway, based on Mrs. Stinson's testimony up here, I think they're going to do what they say. I just can't see them invest in building a house, investing all that money, and then turning in a rental property and doing something, having something very unsightly in front of their own house that they're going to build. So, and I think, the statement she made about having family outside of the state, coming to visit and do whatever. So I know we've approved sites like this with the ADUs on like you say, on smaller pieces of property. So with all that being said, I'm going to make a motion to be approved.
Have a motion to be approved. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Have a second. Call the roll, please.
Keith Bratcher,
Yes.
Joe Crowell,
Yes.
Joe Machado,
Yes.
Jerry Sartain,
Yes.
Zane Cantrell.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Next item we have is a request by Richard Reeves, and this is concerning the barrel pit on Jefferson Pike. What do you have on that, please?
Thank you. Application 2014-50 involves a request from Mr. Reeves to seek special exception approval, which is temporary, for a burrow pit with relief from the area requirements for burrow pits for property located in the RM zone. And Mr. Reeves currently has a permit for the excavation of soils from the property, and it's subject to conditions that were established in the previously approved permits. The applicant is seeking to renew this permit. It expires July 30th, and the applicant is appearing before you now seeking to renew the permit with all of the same conditions that they were subject to in prior approvals. We have received some informational calls regarding this request, and actually we received a call from someone with concerns indicating a desire that there be a vegetated buffer along Jefferson Pike. I did not speak personally with them, so I don't know what part of the property they were talking about. These are photos of the surrounding area, and we posted 3 signs to identify the property. And staff finds that it meets all the conditions, and that concludes our presentation.
We have anyone here representing this request besides the mayor? We're not going to let him talk.
Hello, I'm Ted Goodman of Murphy & Murphy Attorneys. We represent the applicants, Richard Reeves and Joan Reeves, in this matter. If you go to the next slide, please. Of course, the board is very familiar with this. We've already been back here a number of times to get this renewed. We're just asking for a renewal of it, so I'll be very brief. This is 215.66 acres on East Jefferson Pike, directly adjacent to the BFI property in the Walter Hill, Las Casas community. We're requesting a renewal of the special exception, which allows Mr. Reeves to conduct borrow pit activities to sell clay to the landfill, which is a necessary part of the landfill operations. Next slide, please. As the board knows, this does not expand the life or scope of the landfill. They will get the clay from somewhere else if they cannot get it from Mr. Reeves. What they normally do is truck it in on dump trucks across the public roads. What this project allows to happen is they take it directly across the fence line from the Reeves property to the BFI property without ever going onto the public roads, thus removing approximately 50 dump truck trips per day from the public roads. Next slide. This will prevent approximately 60,000 dump truck trips per day over the life of the project, which of course preserves road surfaces, reduces the possibility of traffic accidents, and also reduces congestion. Next slide, please. This is a map of the property. Along here is East Jefferson Pike. This is the Riverwalk subdivision. This is the BFI property, and the areas in hatch marks are the areas that the board has already approved for borrow pits that we're requesting to be renewed. Next slide, please. Mr. Reeves has already made a number of commitments to the county, to his neighbors, and to this board. All of those are in writings on file with the Planning Commission, and Mr. Reeves renews and will continue to honor those throughout the entire project. and he will, of course, continue to conduct his project in compliance with all applicable state, federal, and local laws, ordinances, and regulations. Next slide. Some of the highlights of these are there will not be, we're only going to excavate from one 5-acre pit at a time. There will not be simultaneous excavation from more than one pit at a time. Prior to extracting the clay, the topsoil will be removed, stored on site, and then before they move on to the next borrow pit, the topsoil will be returned and it will be reseeded to restore the property. Next slide. The applicants will not conduct any blasting during the project. All dump trucks and service trucks involved in the project will be prohibited from entering or exiting the applicant's property through any residential neighborhood, and excavation will occur only during daylight hours. Next slide. The applicants will continue to utilize extensive efforts to prevent dust and erosion, and these efforts will remain in place throughout the entire project, and all efforts will be made to mitigate dust, air pollution, and debris from getting onto the public roads. Next slide. All borrow pits are set back at least 150 feet from all residential property lines, at least 50 feet from all other property lines, and all existing trees will be preserved. The idea is 6 months after the project is complete, the land should appear undisturbed. Next slide. And of course, the BZA retains extensive oversight. We're required to return to obtain a renewal of the permit at the end of each permitting period, which is 6 months with a potential of a 3-month administrative extension. This allows the BZA to continue to police the project and make sure that the applicants are continuing to fulfill their obligations to the neighbors, to the county, and to this board. Thank you. If there's any questions, I'm glad to answer.
Jerry.
Just one. None of the sites have changed.
No, sir.
Since the last time.
Since the last time, no, sir. None of the sites have changed.
So has reclamation happened on some of the earlier digging sites already?
Reclamation has occurred on some of the other sites already, yes, sir.
Any other questions? Joe?
I got a question for the county engineer, Mr. Eric Hill. Have they had any problems so far with this?
No, sir.
No problem. Have they done everything they were supposed to do?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you. You may be seated. We'll open this for a public hearing for anyone who'd like to speak on this request. If you'll come around now, please.
My name's Jeff Brown. I live 923 East Jefferson Pike. We never had this problem before, but I'm getting dirt. I can come home. I got a blacktop driveway. It's covered with dirt. My central heating air has got dirt all over it, and I go out there to my boy's truck and I just scrape it, and it's just brown. I mean, I don't know if he can keep it watered down out there, or because they dug right beside there where he's digging right now, and they used to keep it watered down.
Okay, you're not opposed to this. You just don't want the dirt on your...
I mean, it's just coming all to my house.
Yeah.
I live right in front of where they're digging. They're kind of a distance away right now.
Mm-hmm.
As they get closer, it's just going to get worse and worse.
Okay.
I mean, all
Have
the
you
dirt
talked to
coming
these folks about it? Okay. You might want to talk to them before you leave here. Is there anything else you want to say?
I just want that.
Okay. Well, be sure and see them. They're trying to be good neighbors. They'll try to see if they can't help you out there. Okay.
What else to do? I don't know whether to get a lawyer or what else to do to,
Okay.
all that dirt, closer they come, it's just going to get worse and worse.
We understand your dilemma. We'll see if we can't get it resolved. Thank you. Anyone else? We'll close the public hearing. We have a motion on it.
Zane, question. I think he said he lived on the main road out there, right? I think that's what he said. And there's a lot of dirt from the haulers that come in and out of the landfill. So he could be getting a lot of dust from that too. But I'm sure Mr. Reeves will do what he is supposed to do to keep the dust down. I'll move we approve this.
We have a motion to be approved. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Have a second. Call roll, please. To answer your question, yes, they're going to try to resolve that, and they're talking to the young man who came up here and make sure that it is from their operation. It could be from something else. Go ahead. Sorry.
Keith Bratcher,
Yes.
Joe Crowell,
Yes.
Joe Machoto,
Yes.
Jerry Sartain,
Yes.
Thane Cantrell.
Yes.
Motion carries.
It is approved. Next item we have is a request by Brett Nance, and this is also on the Barrow Pit. What do you have on that, please?
Thank you. Application 2014-51 involves the property at 11,584 Highway 99. It's a request for temporary special exception approval for a burrow pit with relief from the setback requirements for burrow pits in the RL low-density residential zone. The applicant, Brett Nance, has filed this application seeking to excavate additional soils from 2 existing ponds that is already located on this 71-acre property that's currently used as a farm. And the limits of the pond actually is closer than the residential setbacks of 150 feet from the excavation area. So the applicant is also seeking relief from that standard for temporary special burrow pits. We have received a couple informational calls regarding this request. However, no one has indicated any opposition. We posted a sign on the property, and these are photos of the surrounding area. Had they just excavated the soil from the pond and kept the soil on the property, they would not be coming before you. However, the soil will be leaving the site, and that is why the special exception is required. There's a stream on the property, and they'll meet the buffer requirements from streams, as you can see in the green, and the existing pond is the dark blue, and then the areas that will be clean. Connect the 2 ponds together. And that concludes our presentation.
Do we have anyone here representing this? If you'll come around, please.
Versailles Road, Rockville, Tennessee. I'm representing Mr. Bob Maxwell and Brett Nance, my son, on this proposal. He is doing this to keep water from 99, this existing creek there, but he's wanting to make a wide ditch where he can keep all the water from settling around these 2 ponds. He's having a lot of water catching there, and we're just going to build one big ditch and enlarge the back pond, and that's basically it, and remove the dirt from site.
Any questions from the board?
Well, will you be moved? I know we're talking about a variance from other property lines. You won't be making these ponds any closer to the property lines, right?
That's a blue line stream that you see.
Yes, sir.
Coming here. Will have to be 35 feet from the top of it, which we don't want to be anywhere close to it. In the back, we'll have to stay 25 feet. We really need to open that up because the landowner back there is 100% for what we're trying to do. Now, we may get him to come up and say, but really we need to tie into him because he is 100% for this because he gets a lot of this water.
So you would only do that with his approval? You would only do that with his approval?
No, we'll just do what we got to do, but if we have to go into him, that we see that we're going to have to go into him, we will go talk to him and see whatever we got to do.
Thank you.
Any other question?
Just got a few, Mr. Chairman, on the removing of the soil, times and days of operation, it's going to be Monday through Friday, or What's your?
We'll probably be running 5 days, 6 to 8 hours a day, and there never will be over 2 trucks in this area.
Okay.
Most of the time, 1.
Okay, so no Saturday or Sunday operation?
No weekends at all.
No weekend. Okay. That's all I have.
Any other questions? Joe?
How long before you complete this project, you think?
We're hoping to do it in that 6-month period, but the way it's doing right now, it would take 2 years. But we're hoping it won't take over 5 to 6 months.
Thank you.
I think the rains will stop soon. We hope they do. Any other questions? Thank you. You may be seated. We'll open this for a public hearing for anyone who'd like to speak on this request. Close the public hearing. We have a motion on it.
I'll make a motion be approved.
Have a motion to be approved.
I'll second it.
Have a second. Call roll, please.
Keith Bratcher,
Yes.
Joe Crowell,
Yes.
Joe Machoto,
Yes.
Jerry Sartain,
Yes.
Thane Cantrell.
Yes.
Motion carries, sir.
Do we have any other business to come before the board? No. We are adjourned. Thank you.